Gets away from Kante, plays down the line for Suarez. 98 team of the year, Suarez.
He's a big
past
chance.
Ramos.
Suarez, what's he going to do? Tries to feed it back. Is that going to come to Ronaldo? Just trying to get a foot on that, maybe. Pull it now. The man that Bullock loves. Half turn there from Torres. Vieira back to Suarez on the finesse, and there we have it. The Bullock is in London. He turns around. He celebrates. The Bullock. He had a plan, and he's performed it.
You're listening to the FUT Champions Podcast with Richard and Brandon.
What is going on? Welcome back to a brand new episode of the FUT Champs Podcast. Week 7 we're on now. We've had our first podcast after the new year. We're back to week by week podcast. Obviously, the same team is here again this week. Me, the man next to me I'll introduce in a second. Colin, of course, from Roma. And we have a special guest, but a very big name in the FIFA scene. But more importantly, let's introduce my co-host as always, Richard Buckley. A new week, a new podcast. How are we doing?
Yeah, thank you for tuning in, everybody. I hope everybody's well out there in the FIFA scene currently. Firstly, last week there were a few comments said on the podcast regarding the FUTWiz organisation. I'd like to apologise on behalf of the FUT Champs Podcast and everyone associated with the podcast if anything came across in the wrong way. Never mean to say anything that harms a reputation or disrespects an organisation like that, so sincerest apologies from the podcast, and hopefully we can go on strong with the FUTWiz organisation. They helped us out a few weeks ago with a very good show, Dan stepping into Colin's shoes, and then Dubs and Zelonius, and very best of luck for them guys in Barcelona, Brandon.
Of course, and it's great to get that message out there as well. Obviously, the leaderboard section in the website as well that we use a lot for preparation. If you don't know that, go and check it out over on the FUTWiz page. They've got leaderboards over there, week by week, FUT Champions results, and if anyone's interested to see how everyone's doing, there's a full break-up on that. But obviously, let's introduce Colin as well. Colin, you're back for another week. Hello, mate. How are you doing? And obviously, Barcelona is just around the corner now. It's getting closer and closer day by day. How are you feeling about it, and how are your players preparing for it?
We're excited, very excited. All the guys are helping Poacher kind of prepare for the event. He's trying to find as many games on Twitter from other top 100s, other pros. So we're feeling pretty good. He's playing pretty well. He's at the Global E-League as well to get some extra competitive practice in, and then obviously some of the Gfinity Cups as well. But yeah, we're feeling optimistic and fairly confident, but we've still got 2 weeks to go.
Most definitely, and it should be a really good spectacle. Obviously, when that event does happen, I believe it is the 26th, 27th, 28th of this month. Obviously, it will be live on Twitch and YouTube, I believe. Obviously, yeah, we'll tweet out about that in a few weeks' time. But we've got a special guest, haven't we, Rich? Johnny? He's got a bit of a persona about him as well, hasn't he?
I wouldn't even say a special guest. I'd say one of the biggest guests we've had on the podcast as of date. And let's just introduce him, Brandon. The man, the myth, the legend. Kurt, welcome to the show.
How's it going, guys, man? Pleasure to be here.
Thanks for having us on. Thank you for coming on. Sorry.
My podcast now.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. Obviously, welcome to the show, first of all. Obviously, it's a guest that we've wanted to have on, and you've been amongst the FIFA scene. I even remember, you probably didn't know me at the time, but I remember watching you at the Gfinity Play Like a Legend.
Jeez.
When your dad was there with you, I believe.
It feels like it's been ages, but it's really not been that long. No.
And I remember, I don't know who you were playing at the time, but there was a few fans in there as well. And you know how the Gfinity arena's come on now, it's completely different than it was, but now they've taken it to a completely new level now. And I remember at the time, I don't know who you beat or what happened. You nearly got a really good comeback. I don't know if you remember.
Trying to remember which one it was. I think it was the last one, wasn't it?
And
wait, did I lose it or did I win it?
I can't remember, but it was a really good comeback that came out of it. But whatever happened of all, I remember you weren't happy afterwards. I remember that.
I think I know which one you're on about. I think it was my literally first one, where yeah, I think it was the game against Afro, which I ended up actually losing.
And was that?
I think it's that one. I'm not sure if it's that one, but I think it was that one.
I remember Afro was there, obviously the player from Sweden. Going back to that, was that your first real LAN event?
That was
would you
my
say?
very, very first one, yes.
And let's go back to that. You know, when did you first get into the competitive side of FIFA, and you know, when did you start believing that you could be the best?
Well, the thing is, it's weird because, like, I remember I've been playing it since, like, FIFA 09. Like, that's why, like, I'm a FUT founder as well, because like, I literally played the very, very first Ultimate Team, which was in, like, FIFA 09.
Yeah.
And I've played it literally every year since. But, like, and every single time, you know, I always felt like, but I never really got into the competitive scene because, like, it was, let's be honest, it wasn't that big at the time. Like, there wasn't, it's not just money wise, but there wasn't really much stuff going on. And I'm working as well full time as well at the time, and I'm like, it's kind of hard to balance both as well. I remember, like, when I tried to get in Gfinity as well, but like, I was doing it and I was playing the cups. I ended up qualifying. I'm like, well, I mean, we have to go now, no? So like, and it was actually cool, back in FIFA 16.
I think as well, a good point to add on that is back then Gfinity was obviously the leading thing for FIFA, and that's why it's got such a good reception when it's come back in this year recently. Back then, it was looking at it, you're thinking it's quite a lot of money. It was, again, you're winning £100, £150 a night on the cups, but at the same time, you know, to win the event, it was about $3,000, which at the time was quite a big money in FIFA.
At the time, for FIFA it was always, it was definitely undisputedly the biggest one at the time, Gfinity. There's no doubt about it. And the tournaments to me still hold a special feeling because it's the tournaments where literally there was all the best players in it, and it was like at the time always special because to qualify for them you literally had to go, it's not like with FUT Champions now, it was literally just playing each other literally 3 days a week, I think it was, and like in all the cups, so best players ended up making every time.
It was a leaderboard kind of format as well, wasn't it?
Exactly, it was like a leaderboard, and like, I mean, I remember there was all the big names, you named them, so that was always such a special tournament. There was never, like, very rarely weak players in it.
When was it that you realised that this could be potentially something going forward? Back when you were competing in these Gfinity?
Like, I mean, I always felt like it's, I mean, I'm like Gfinity. They had their limits, unfortunately, at the time. To take it to the biggest esport, they couldn't do it by themselves. I mean, I always felt like it's up to EA. Like, that's when I was like, it has to be EA. Like, they have to start leading this now. And so when FIFA 17 came out, and all the news that they said, here we go. That's when I'm like, well, I mean, this is going to become, like, you know, a really, really big thing.
Did that kind of change your perception of, maybe how you...
Exactly. Like, I mean, I went from a full-time to a part-time to focus more on it, of course, because I knew, like, well, I mean, this is it now. Like, you know, it's going to be big, and, you know, it is right now, definitely.
And, obviously, you are from Malta. You know, is there many players in Malta that play FIFA, or, you know... Would you say people know you in Malta for what you do, or not?
Of course. Listen, like, I mean, I've got this vision that in the future, I think I could actually run for president, you know, over here. I'm being that, like, you might think I'm joking, but no, listen. Like, over here, like, unfortunately, you know, in terms of all the sports that we have, we can't really compete in, like, football, or we can't really compete in other sports. I mean, there's the odd one that can come out. But listen, make no mistake about it. If I win one of the events, that would be the biggest achievement coming from here in terms of sporting achievement, for sure, 100%.
For president.
Exactly, I'm up for president. Like, yeah, exactly.
Definitely, and I think Rich, you can elaborate on it a little bit more. I feel like there's the same kind of balance, with what we saw in guitar last year, Rich.
Yeah, definitely. With the guitar players, I think there's that much. Like the jubilation we saw when Megasip qualified from Qatar, the first ever Qatari player to compete in an FIWC regional, then to get to the grand final. Like, there was so much commotion about him. Like, we had people in suits running in. Do you think that going forward you're going to get more, like, could you see like a Kurt support group coming with you to these events?
No, it's funny you mention that, because as I said over here, like, there's definitely people that, like, as you said, because for example, like in the UK and stuff like that, it's just like there's so many players and stuff that, like, and you guys have so much stuff going on in every sport that, like, people maybe don't really get behind the players as much. But yeah, over here you could say that I could envision a country, 100%.
Take me back through your Twitter. When did you start really pushing your Twitter? Because obviously, I think you're slowly approaching 20,000 followers now. But it's really started to grow over the last year.
Yeah, I started. I think it was in 2016, wasn't it? Yeah, I think. But I never really like took it serious. As in, like, I never really tweeted that much stuff. But like, yeah, I feel like Twitter now is like sort of the main. I mean, I've only got Twitter. I haven't got Facebook. I haven't got Instagram. So like, I feel like Twitter, I use it a lot now. Yeah, it's definitely like the biggest.
It's funny that you talk about like trying to grow your Twitter, because a few weeks ago I was talking about how a lot of players who are competing at FIFA and esports at the minute don't have a social media presence behind them, and they find it hard to get like people backing them and fans. Do you think that's something that you saw that could potentially be something that you can grow on? Because with a big Twitter following, you can get sponsorship deals, you can get endorsements.
Yeah, listen, it is important. It's I agree. It's important, especially for the players that maybe are not that well known. Like, you know, the people. It's not just Twitter, of course. There's Twitch and YouTube and stuff like that. That definitely can help you. 100%.
Kind of look at if you look at like some of there's so many new pros nowadays. You know, there's so many new people coming up and qualifying for these types of events. And I feel like if the reason that you've kind of done so well is you've been different from everyone, you know,
100%.
Whereas everyone else has kind of been like the same generic posts, the same generic streams. Everyone's kind of doing the same thing. Whereas like you've kind of come at it from a different angle. Was that on purpose, or was it kind of just like you didn't take it seriously?
No, people think like people have this idea that like what I say and stuff, like it's a persona or it's like a character. I'm telling you right now, it's not. Like, honestly, these tweets are from the heart. This is how I feel. That's the truth. That's stuff like that. And like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. People sometimes, I feel it's not just with FIFA. It's with a lot of things. They don't really say what they want to say. So that's why I hate sometimes seeing like the same generic like responses or posts or stuff like that. But yeah, I guess for me, people ended up getting behind me because it's something that like they can definitely get behind. Yeah, even on Twitch and stuff like that, definitely.
Well, it's very similar to real life football. Like, people like people who aren't just like run of the mill. You look at the last couple of leagues, the Premier League, players like Joey Barton, Mario Balotelli. These are the players that people want to know what they're doing at every single moment of the time. No one's wanting to know what Gareth Barry's doing on a Saturday afternoon. Everybody wants to know what Balotelli's up to, if he's lighting fireworks in his bathroom. Or
yeah, no, it's a good example.
We saw you competing last year.
Yeah.
At the FIWC qualifiers in Munich.
Yeah.
Can you talk us through that? Like, what were your preparation going into the event, and then how do you think it went, the event for you?
Yeah, it was a really weird thing for me because, as you guys know, last year it was one of them where like I couldn't compete at the EA events.
Yep.
So I could compete at the FIWC, which, knowing though that like that was my first. Again, you can't even call it a tournament though. I mean, it was something like different. It was like a small mini like regional thing, and going into it, it was gonna be this is what all that kept going through my head and stuff. This is what annoyed me the most. Like it's my first. It was literally in June or July, and it was gonna be my first event since Gfinity of the last year. Whereas other people have already played about 4 or 5 that very same year, and like I felt like, well, this year's been messed up already, because like in my head already I had it prepared. I'm gonna go Madrid. I'll take it in Madrid. I'll go to Berlin. I'll take it at Berlin, and I don't even need to go through this thing. But anyways, you know, you're gonna go play and you're gonna play the tournament. So when I go there, and like, of course I'm feeling as confident as always, and like I play my group. So at the time, I think it was like, it was like 4 out of 5 go through. It was like
the top 4 go through and then bottom drops out.
And so I'm playing my group, and I think I won all of my games apart from one which I drew. So I was really, really comfortable. I topped my group, and then I'm playing a guy who finished 4th, who got 1 point out of 5 games.
12,
out of 4 games. 1 point out of 4 games. And like, I remember thinking at the time, like, this is it. This is going to be one of those games where, like, he's got 1 point. But anyways, here we go. We're about to play. There was like a massive break, and we're about to play. And the game just started off immediately bad, that first game. Like, I changed formation, I remember, on the first minute. I'm playing a different formation I played before, because I played him in the group stage, and I was losing 2-0 at half time. Again, that game didn't mean anything to me, because I also did true and qualified. So I changed formation at half time, and I won 3-2. So I'm like, what do I do now? Do I go with that formation, or do I go with the formation I'm playing? I ended up going with the one I changed to, and it started off really bad because I went like 2-0 down instantly, and I'm like, oh god, man, we have to try and fight here. So I'm trying to like get things together, but nothing was going for me. And it was a two-legged game, so I'm like, let's just stay calm here. Like, it's a two-legged game. We'll go again second game. So I lose the first game 2-0. Then I go in the second game, and I start off really, really well. Like, I changed back to my other formation. And, like, I had 3 chances, I remember, like, literally in the space of a bit. And, like, the ball just didn't go in. And I was just starting to get even more annoyed. Then I got my goal to make it 2-1. And I'm like, I'm back in the sort of again. I wasn't really playing good. And then, like, all of a sudden, as soon as I went on attacking and stuff, he got another one back, and it just went away from me. But, like, looking back at that game, it was one of them where, like...
Do you feel like it was maybe... I know the game might not be going your way, but was it maybe experience at a LAN event?
Nah, it's not to do with that. It's like, it's literally one of them where, like, it was just not going for me that game. And, like, again, I wasn't liking it. I felt like I couldn't turn. I felt like I couldn't create as much as I wanted to.
And a point I want to talk in, and I'm sure Rich can elaborate on this as well. We were commentating over that event. One thing that we pointed out quite a lot when we were commentating was that, you know, a lot of the guys that finished 4th were beating the guys that finished top. Not just in your case, but
it didn't happen just in my case.
Was it a case of maybe not for you, but do you think at the same time, could you see it as, you know, a mindset thing? You know, if you're finishing top, you're thinking at the same time, I should be able to, you know, get through this.
It crossed my mind for sure that, I'm facing a guy that finished on 1 point. In any other situation, he's not going through and stuff like that. Yeah. And, like, when you go in the game, he's got nothing to lose. I've got everything to lose. But it's not just that. Again, it's just the way the game went. It was just... Again, I believe if I play that same series again 10 times, I believe I can win 8 or 9 times. Yeah, now we start again fresh. You know, I can play in the first tournament.
At the LAN events, the accounts are unlocked.
Yeah.
You can use any player up to a certain cut-off date. Do you change your team from what you qualified with online? Or?
Well, in Munich, I didn't, because, like, I was rich enough to have every player in the game. But for Barcelona, this is going to be really, really interesting. I even put out a tweet because I'm not that rich this year. I mean, like, I've got, like, Ronaldo and stuff, but, like, I haven't been able to try a lot of the players. So my team is going to 100% change. And for Barcelona, you know, I can't leave players out that, like, if though, because I haven't used them, doesn't mean that, like, I'm not going to play with them, of course. So... yeah, it's going to be interesting because I don't know. Like, I've not played with the players, so I have to make decisions on the spot, really, and see.
Because I remember you did come out and said that, you know, you haven't had the chance to get all the best players.
Exactly, yeah.
Which players would you really look forward to using to if you could?
I mean, listen, that Hillet, for example, like the 91, like every time I play against him, he's so good, and I used him for a little bit, but then like I upgraded to R9, who of course is, as you know, he costs like about so he took all he took all my coins pretty much. So yeah, I want to just fit. I just want to see how my team will fit all in the same team. Like there's like Hillet, there's Pele that I want to try. I even want to try that Henry. There's Ronaldinho, Maradona, all these players that I've not been able to try. And like, I'm really, really excited to try at least 2 or 3 of those in my team.
Colin, you heard Kurt there speaking about the icons that are going to be available. At the FIWC Grand Finals, we had restrictions on the squad where it were 3 legends max, and then I think it were 3 95 plus rated players. Team of the Year is just round the corner, and some of the prime icons will probably be released before that event in Barcelona. Do you think there will be restrictions on the squads, so you can't just run 95 Maradona, 95 Pele, 94 R9?
Good question,
yeah, I think it's definitely different than it was last year, and I think if they keep it consistent, it won't really fit with the pool of players that's available right now. Because if you look at like how many players with the prime icons that are rated like 93 plus, there's so many more players than there were last year. Because last year, you know, you just had the base versions, where now you have 3 different tiers, and now you have these, you know, players that are 95, 96, 97, 98 rated, that if they basically said you can only have 1 or 2 players above 95, that is going to restrict some players that maybe did have enough coins or are rich enough to have those top players that they've been relying on, and then they'll have to play in a different style or with players that maybe they're not as comfortable with, and that might affect their results at the end of the day. So I don't think that they should put restrictions, in my opinion, because I think if we're going to have the unlocked accounts with all the players on it, then, or at least up to that point, then, you know, I think they should be available to the players.
And a point that we can go back on now, obviously you are there at the end of January, Kurt, in Barcelona. talk to me through the the November qualifying month. Talk to me about FIFA 18 at the beginning. As soon as you got FIFA 18, a lot of the guys were playing draft to try and get coins behind them. How did you approach when the game first came out?
Oh, so when it came out, literally, because people don't understand this, but like the people that want to spend points, how much you want to spend, the best time to do it's at the beginning. I don't believe there's any point doing it now. So I just put, I think it was 60k, I think it was FIFA points, which is, quite a lot, but then again, compared to other people, it's not even that much, but anyways. So I just put all of those in draft and just grind the draft. To me, it's the best way to make coins at the beginning, and you get to try some players and stuff, but yeah, I was really happy at the beginning. That was, I said that I was really, really enjoying the game. I thought it was the best FIFA I've played in years, and that's saying something. Remember FIFA 12, 11 and 10, I really liked those games as well, but this FIFA was special. I thought it had everything. I really did. And some people are criticizing it, but I'm like, oh man, I see the skill gap in this. So then came October, and then I'm still feeling good. So I played the first month of October, the FUT Champs, and again, I'm feeling good. I'm loving the game right now. And I finished, I think, I can't remember how many wins, but so yeah, October finished really, really good for me. And yeah, so going in November. My November started in the worst possible way, my qualifying, because I got disconnected within the first 10, 15 games, and that's not what you want. So that was definitely annoying. And I finished the first week on 37 wins, which was alarming, because I thought you definitely needed to go higher, but then in the following weeks I just managed to get the results I wanted to, really.
If you like what you're hearing, why not subscribe? Just go to @FUT Champions Pod on Twitter, drop a follow, and then you'll find all your subscription options in the pinned tweet. Oh, and also, while I've got you, why not check out this podcast's more casual older brother, the FUT Weekly Podcast, for in-depth reviews, Team of the Week rundown, content chat, and general FUT discussion.
And to lead on from that, obviously, as we know, there's been a number of changes to the game. Some people have enjoyed it, some people haven't. Some people would have agreed with you at the beginning of the game. They loved it and said it was the best version of the game they've had. Yeah. But going through that November qualifying month, obviously you said you didn't have the best start to it. How do you pick yourself up when you lose a game that you don't deserve to, or you do take a disconnection?
No, it was tough. It was really, really hard for me, because when you take a loss instantly, it was especially a disconnection, is definitely demoralizing. Even for me, it was one of them where you have to try and fight back to it. But then as the weeks followed, I definitely started feeling more and more comfortable playing. So that definitely helped.
And to pass over to Colin, obviously you've mentored a lot of your pros throughout the qualifying month, even if some of them didn't make it to Barcelona. And you said, it was key that there was someone there to talk to them. I think FUTWiz Dan said it as well. He's come out and said about how important it is to mentor your players. What kind of advice would you give to your guys, even if they lose a game early on?
Stop playing. That seems to be the common thread, is that, you'll hear a player say, oh, I lost a game, and then, I was so angry, and then I jumped straight into the next game, and then I lost another one. And that's how people ruin qualifying months. So I think that some of my players are still getting better at that, but I think that especially when Sam Poacher, when he was in London, when he was in the office, I think he did a really good job at when he did lose. He would take breaks and then not overplay it, because I know a lot of players will play 10, 15, 20 in a row, 30 in a row, and then once they get to a certain point, say I'm just going to play until I lose. And sometimes that can be kind of dangerous, because your body does get affected, playing in front of that screen for 12, 15, 18 hours in a row if you're really stretching your gameplay sessions out that long. But as well, I think it's just understanding that this year is different from other years, and that at the end of the day, this isn't, the be-all and end-all. FUT Champions isn't the only opportunity to qualify, especially for us. We have Gfinity to go through to for Elite Series to get our E-World Cup spots as well. And then there's, another like you guys said, I think in previous podcasts, there's like another 90 spots open out there. So there's plenty of opportunities. So I just think you kind of have to take the pressure off yourself a little bit and not say that, if I don't qualify for Barcelona, then my season's over, because it's not.
And Colin, Kurt said it then when he spoke about the rest of the world players playing rest of the world. Do you think this year, with it being just the top 64 players worldwide, Colin, do you prefer that as a qualification, or do you think it should have gone to the regionals as it was last year?
No, I mean, I think that if, it depends on who you talk to, right? Because if you talk to the Europeans, then they're going to say, yes, this is the perfect way. And I tend to agree with them, because I think that, 90 to 95% of the best players in the world are from Europe. And then you have, those players that are they're at the end of the day, they're anomalies, right? The Joeys, the Omega Sibs, the Amons, the Filthy Peas, those types of guys. Like, they're not like common. They're very, very good players, and they just happen to be living somewhere else. So I like it how it is right now, but I would say that it's definitely changed the way that organizations look at rest of the world and America's players, because now there's not as much of a focus and as much of a reason necessarily to go and sign those players, because there aren't necessarily the events out there. There's no regionals out there. There's no guaranteed representation. There's no guaranteed getting your players on broadcasts like there was last year. So yeah, I definitely think that European players tend to be a bit better of an investment for organizations right now.
And at the FIWC Grand Finals, Kurt, I'm not sure if you did get the chance to watch it. We saw some huge performances from North American and South American guys like Filthy P, New York City, Joey, the likes of Janos as well, former big player in the scene. How much practice, if any, do you get against these sort of players who aren't from that European region?
No, you say that surprised me definitely. Like that was like, I didn't see that coming, honestly. Like, there were so many that done good. In terms of practice, I don't really practice with them, unfortunately, because of like a lot of Europeans don't like practicing with Americans because of. I mean, I've played the occasional odd one, but like the latency usually is a bit like, sometimes there's a bit delay on both ends, so I think they'd rather play each other and we'd rather just play Europeans. But with Gfinity though, this year they've made it where it's global sort of, so like you can't really avoid it, so we definitely can match up with them. I'm excited to see,
Yeah, and you spoke of Gfinity there. The first Gfinity Cup, it's been we'll just say there's been a couple of issues here and there.
Yeah.
You played it the other day, you won it. Talk to me about that.
So we've played so far 1 out of 3, and like but the one we played, I managed to win the one that I played, and it was one of those where like if you have to play now, head into Barcelona, you have to practice and stuff, so to play against so many pros, because I played about, I don't know how many rounds it was, but like I played quite a lot of games, and my performance was was really, really good. I was liking the way I was playing. And as the night progressed as well, the gameplay was just getting faster and faster, so I was feeling more and more confident, and like head into my last bracket games and stuff. I mean, I thought I deserved to win, and
do you think that you're building confidence as the tournament progresses?
Of course.
Is that the sort of player that you are?
Yeah, confidence for me is not really an issue, but like it's one of them, like it always helps when you win a cup like this, because it was about 500 people or something like that playing in it, and it's always, of course, nice to win it 100%.
And I saw a few of the clips on Twitch. I was watching the streams. That your dribbling was unbelievable at some points. Talk to me through that. Like, if someone's listening to the podcast now, how can they dribble like Kurt?
No, they can't. Unfortunately, I've not seen. The thing is, like, again, not without sounding arrogant, but people always ask me, "What do you do?" It's just the left stick, like, and people always say, "But how?" It literally just the left stick. But this is what I mean. I've not seen anyone able to replicate it, so that's why I always say, "Well, you can't." But in terms of that dribbling, it's one of them. Like, if the game is feeling really good and it's sharp, I can do that sort of dribbling really, really well. The only thing I don't like this year is because like that dribbling that you can do this year, you couldn't do last year, so that's good. Like the turning is really, really sharp. Like, as you can see, you can turn really quick. So that I really like that they did that. What I don't like is that when you're sprinting with the ball, for some reason, that it doesn't let you turn as sharp. So, but even then, my dribbling is I try to replicate like in real life as well, the way players move, the way players turn, the way I don't really do skills and stuff like that, which people find a bit shocking. But to me, I've always felt comfortable dribbling like this.
And obviously, you're a big Inter Milan fan. A big fan of Icardi as well.
Yeah.
How did that all come about? Your love for Inter Milan.
Oh no, mine was really, really simple. It's like if I don't support Inter, I get kicked out of the house. So I never really had a choice I picked this team or I've never really had that choice from a very young age, because my father supported Inter. So
And if you can, would you have one of those players on your bench?
It's so annoying because right now we're not going through our best period. So even though we're getting a bit better and better, this isn't remember 2010 where we had a lot of really good FIFA players as well in the team that you could use. Right now, someone like Icardi unfortunately isn't maybe stated good. So I will not have any Inter players, unfortunately.
Going back to that, the dribbling in the Gfinity tournament, one of the main guys for it was that R9 Ronaldo.
Oh yeah.
What makes him so special?
Oh man, he's so good, as in I've not really used a player like him in any other FIFA. There's just something about him where he turns. Again, this is his 94 version as well. I've been lucky enough to use his 96 as well for 5 games, because his loan card, that one as well turns even faster than this one. But to me, it's the shot that makes him, that separates him from the others. It's this 5-star equal as well. So it's left or right foot, it goes just flying in. And sometimes, as every player, he will sometimes, no player is perfect. So don't expect perfection every time from him. But he's definitely the best player I've used this year by quite some margin.
So obviously, since that card's not out yet, but you're going into Barcelona and you've had limited experience with him. You obviously you can't probably judge a card off of 5 games. I feel like a lot of players say they need at least 10, 15, 20, 30 games. But would you say that this is a player that you might involve in your squad?
I don't know the restrictions. I don't know what there is yet. I don't know if we're going to be able to use the you mentioned the prime.
Yeah, the prime versions of the cards.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to use it. I don't know. Unfortunately, we're 2 weeks now before, so I would have expected to know this stuff. But if he's there, if he's available, he's 100% going in the team. It's either this version or the other. Ronaldo will be in my team, or 900%.
Yeah, it's a great point you raised there, because we don't actually know what.
We don't know,
because if there could potentially be, if it's the cards that are already in the game that have been released, you're going to have a prime Henry, a prime Vieira,
exactly.
But you might not have a prime Pele, for example.
Exactly.
At 98.
I don't know. We don't know that. So, and there's the fact that the team of the years as well. I don't know if they'll be eligible as well, because they'll be coming out next week, and then the Barcelona event is the week after that. But is there a cut-off date we'll be able to use them? I don't know. These are questions that I would have loved to have answered right now.
Well, we've seen in the past that they have done cut-off dates before. I remember
that's what I'm saying. So that's why I think
we
Team
used
of
to
the
talk
Years
about that.
Yeah, exactly.
But talking about FIFA this year in general, on the latest, obviously the latest update, latest gameplay. Last year, there was a lot of players that just went out just to score. For example, Ajax Danny was a good example of that. This year, if you had to change your game style at all, is it because it seems like this year's just more just keep scoring, don't try and sit back and defend? Is it just literally you just got to just try and keep scoring?
Yeah, oddly enough, this FIFA compared to the last one, I'm not saying in a way they're kind of a bit. They're different, but in a way they've got some similarities. But in terms of formations and stuff, definitely that I've had to adjust and change. The game style is one of them where I think people that keep the ball, a lot of people can keep the ball a bit easier, but I'm not that type of player that plays possession and stuff. So, and again though, at the same time, it's especially when you're playing with players like Ronaldo, like R9, he can shoot from anywhere and it can go in. So my advice if I'm playing is definitely to go for goals.
And yesterday, me and Brandon were commentating on Ajax Danny against Tim Latka in a best of 3 series, and there were so many goals from kick-off. Have you found any way to be able to defend the kickoff and all watching.
No, there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. I've been hearing people saying offside trap this, click it 3 times, go park the pass. There is nothing you can do to stop it. I'm telling you this right now, nothing.
Because we were watching Danny and he went part of the bus, but then like manually LTRT brought his players back and like tried to manually position them. Yeah. It didn't really work. Team Malta scored straight away from kick-off.
You just have to try and somehow read it or somehow intercept it or somehow get a touch on the ball. I've even seen people slide tackling like
just take a foul.
Yeah, just take a foul. But even that's a bit hard as well because that's risky because if you miss it, he goes by you. Boom. So yeah, listen, there's nothing you can do.
And your defending style, it's quite different.
It is.
Give us a little bit of
my defending is this is where I get annoyed because when the game first came out, FIFA 18, I was really excited because it was one of them where it was almost fully manual. Like you have to always select the player closest to the ball, and that to me is how the defending should always be. That's the biggest scare. But like as it's gone on with the patches and stuff like that, it's gone a bit back where like you're allowed to like sort of teammate contain or not select the player closest to the ball. I always like to manually defend. Sometimes it can punish me, unfortunately. Sometimes it can go against me, but I don't trust the computer enough. Some people do, and it works for them. But yeah, I like to manually defend. Like it's just jockey and trying to intercept the ball or tackle them.
And obviously, you've got a bit of persona in the scene, and obviously you say you call yourself the best in the world, and obviously you believe that. Who it's hard to see, but who in the scene do you have a good relationship with? Would you say who would you happily play, or do you go about your own business behind?
No. I get along with a lot of guys. I don't get along as well with a lot of guys, so it works both ways. But when I say it, I only say it because it's true and I believe it. In terms of who I speak to, it's I speak with a lot of the UK guys mainly because of like Taz, like Spencer, like other Philly players like that. And in terms of practice games, I play with a lot of people, man, from all over. Like I don't mind playing anyone and stuff. I like practice games. They're friendly, so you learn from them. And heading into the event, they're definitely crucial.
And when you're kind of speaking about all these players that you're scrimming against and playing against, the one common theme of all of them, except for I guess TAS, as you said, they all have organizations. So I think that's one thing that like people are probably really curious about. It's why is the best player in the world still unsigned? Is it you're waiting for the call? Is it it's you just don't want one? Like what is it exactly?
I'm comfortable right now not having one. I'm not really looking for one, but like there's very, very, very few right now that I believe I'll be willing to sign for. So yeah, I mean, if the right offer comes, if the right one comes, I'll definitely entertain it. But yeah, for now, I'm comfortable as I am. Yeah.
If Inter Milan come calling.
Yeah, exactly. If Inter Milan come calling, I'll even sign for free, no issue.
And Colin, Kurt's definitely is a personality in the FIFA scene. Do you think we need more people like Kurt who are willing to say what they think and say what's on their mind? Because if you look at the 128 pros who have qualified for this Barcelona event, you could probably only, like the casual FIFA player, could probably only name 5 or 10 of these players.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's like a level to it, right? And there's a line to be drawn between, because the thing is like Kurt says he's the best player in the world. And when you watch him play, there's no doubt that he's a supremely talented player, right? Like you said, his dribbling is insane, his defending is very solid, and he beats top pros on a regular basis. But if you have someone else that comes out and would act the same way as Kurt, you don't know if they could probably pull it off as well as him. So I think everyone just kind of has to not necessarily put on a persona or fake it. It's just kind of be yourself a bit, And I think that's why so many people were endeared to Bullock when he kind of blasted onto the scene this year, and because he just kind of let his personality show and wasn't afraid to kind of let loose in interviews sometimes. So yeah, I mean, but then again, that works for free agents a lot of the times a lot better than players who are signed to official clubs and official organizations. You can't really always express yourself in the same way. So yeah, I think there's even some players that might have those big personalities but aren't necessarily allowed to push him out there. And I think if you even look at someone like Harry, right, like he's done a really good job at kind of putting his personality out there, and people have kind of bought into that. And I think it's a common thread you're seeing go through everybody, but I just don't think that everyone has that in them, you know? If you are just a quiet guy that plays FIFA and then goes home and, that's what you do and you're a professional and that's all you do, then, there's not a lot you can do. I think it's just about being genuine, being true to yourself and being true to your fans, and hopefully they appreciate that and they kind of latch onto that.
And if Kurt was representing Roma, hypothetically, under your organisation and your management, would you be looking at some of his tweets very sceptically?
Good question.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that there's a level of tact, right, that you have to bring into it, because at the end of the day, there's certain advantages to not always voicing your opinion in a certain way. But at the same time, it kind of comes into like the motivation behind it, right? Because if you're not interested in having an organization, and if you're, happy with where you are, and, you just like putting your opinion out there, then that's perfectly fine. Go ahead and do that. But, if you're in a position where you have, 5, 10, 15, 20 people like above you kind of like watching what you're doing and paying attention, then, you can't really get away with as much of stuff of that kind of stuff. So we would have definitely had words by now, I think.
And obviously down the line, I know you've said it in a few tweets that, your intention's not to, or you might have said it, it's obviously not to join a club just yet or an organisation. Say 5 years down the line, Inter Milan come into the business. Are you would you jump for the chance or not?
No, listen, as I said, like Inter is sort of like a society. As I said, like Inter, I mean, I signed for free for them. It's one of them situations. But like, yeah, of course, people just look at the money mainly as the number one thing, or like stuff like that. I mean, to me, it's not really the number one thing. It's just more the team more than anything. So yeah, I don't think there are enough teams out there right now. I don't know. It depends, how many there are that sort of, if they're interested in signing me, and if they won't make the right offer and stuff like that, I might not necessarily sign, because maybe I don't really want to represent them. But if it's in the time, I'm not saying I'm never going to sign for someone. Like, if it's the right team or the right offer and stuff like that, I'll entertain it for sure.
And to anyone out there that's trying to get into the esports scene, and I'm sure Colin will have a different opinion on this as well, would you say go about your business on your own for a year or two, see what happens, try and get as much experience as you can, instead of you see a lot of guys come into the scene now, especially this year, that they sign for organisations quite early on? Would you say take a step back then maybe, and just try and build up your portfolio?
Yeah, 100%. My advice is to just do your thing, do your own thing, don't sign with anyone, just keep playing, try and qualify, of course, qualify for the first event, go in there, see how you do, and then go from there.
And obviously for you, Colin, as well, what kind of advice would you give to new people on the scene?
It kind of depends on your situation, because if you're a player that, say you have like a mid-level offer or a mid-range offer that would enable you to play the game more and get better at the game, then I don't see why not, especially if you're a relatively unknown player that can kind of build your profile through the assistance of that organization or that club or whatever it is, because the thing about esports contracts is they're not very long, right? So you're not jumping in this for 2 or 3 years. Most of the contracts are 6 months, a year, maybe 2 years at the absolute longest. And so I don't feel like it's necessarily like you're signing your life away or anything like that. I think it's just about really seeing if you can do it. And at the end of the day, like if you're out of school, or if you're in a position where having that monthly salary would help you play the game more and really give a go to see if you can do it, then I would say go for it and sign for an organization, especially if they're going to offer you that kind of like financial stability.
I think as well, if you look at the FIFA scene currently right now, 2 of the biggest in terms of social media presence and 2 of the best pros are unsigned in Tass and Kurt. So I think it's all about your personal agenda almost. I think both Kurt and Tass are waiting for that perfect offer to even have discussions, really.
If you like what you're hearing, why not subscribe? Just go to @FUT Champions Pod on Twitter, drop a follow, and then you'll find all your subscription options in the pinned tweet. Oh, and also, while I've got you, why not check out this podcast's more casual older brother, the FUT Weekly Podcast, for in-depth reviews, Team of the Week rundown, content chat, and general FUT discussion.
Let's talk about, before we end the podcast, Team of the Week came out yesterday. Obviously, that Bale striker card. Richard did a tweet about it. Are we going to see that in any teams?
I think we will. I think he opens up a lot of things that way. Like him being a striker, especially in different formations that people, if they want to play like 4-2-3-1.
Do you think they might move him down to a midfield card?
I think we might see some people put him centre mid,
Because I said that as well. 95 pace, 89 shooting, and then I think he's got like 81 or 79 physical as well. So
he definitely can play there. I think he definitely play there.
I think in a 4-1-2-1-2 at left centre mid, R9 and then CR7 up top.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah, you can do that. You can put him left attacking mid, left centre mid. Yeah, I think those would be his best positions.
What are you saying about the Bonucci card? Obviously, as your rivals.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, I think there's a chance he's going to get a Team of the Year now, isn't he? Because he wasn't the Team of the Week yesterday, and he could have got in. But
yeah, I think that could be one of the reasons potentially
why he wasn't
that Team of the Week.
There's quite a few. There's quite a few Calcio A players in there.
In the Team of the Year, yeah. Well, the way they've made it, I don't think a lot of them will get in, and probably if maybe one at maximum will get it because it's.
Come on, Raja.
Yeah, it's become a popularity vote. I'd love a Roger though. I would love a Roger.
But I mean, in Team of the Week as well, there's a lot of Calcio A players.
Oh, in Team of the Week, yeah. Team of the Week, yeah. That's true. Yeah, there's loads.
What is everyone's opinion this year on the new Team of the Year community vote? Just before we wrap up the podcast, it's for the last, as long as I can remember, it's been the 11 players who were in the FIFA Pro 11. This year they've changed it up a little bit with the timings not matching up perfectly. So it's the influencers in the game in FIFA, so the likes of Spencer FC, Chewboy, Bateson have been given boxes to vote on their Team of the Year. I think media and athletes as well have also been given these boxes where they can vote for the Team of the Year that they think. That's going to accumulate to 40% of the vote. 60% of the vote, sorry. Yeah. And the other 40% is EA Sports themselves. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think it's going to add any diversity? I think Harry Kane has got a real shout at getting in.
I love the idea of it because I think what's going to happen now is it removes players that, even though they deserve to be in the Team of the Year, and they were players like Cruz, maybe even Modric and stuff, as good as they are in real life, their ability isn't replicated on FIFA, so it's a bit of a, not a useless card, but it almost
Iniesta,
is.
for example.
Iniesta's another one. So I think if you ask people on FIFA,
do you think maybe
prefer Cruz or Nainggolan, they prefer Nainggolan every day of the week. I mean,
do you think maybe they're looking at it maybe more of like an e-sport way? Because obviously the game's coming to a period.
It's just a FIFA thing, really. But both esports and on a normal game, people would just rather play with those cards.
I think as well, what's good as well is obviously the FIFA Best Awards were there, and there was the 11 players.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's better now that you have got 55 cards to choose out of, and it's good that.
Yeah, no, I like it. Yeah.
It's good as well that there's the influencers and the Twitch streamers and stuff, the people that use the cards a lot more, and they have the audiences. And for them to have a voice as well. What do you think about that, Colin?
Yeah, that's true.
It's awesome. I think that putting it in, I think because they've kind of moved a bit more towards incorporating like content and making a lot of their initiatives content based, so that now they're using Team of the Year, because usually what happens, right, is they just go, here's Team of the Year, and they release it, right? But now it's like this spectacle almost, where it's like an interactive thing, which I think it just like adds another dimension to the way that we can kind of interact with Ultimate Team, because at the end of the day, like, we're the ones using the cards, we're the ones that kind of should be able to decide, and at least in this modicum it's really interesting that we should be able to decide who the players should be.
Yeah. And I think is anything else you want to add in there, Richard?
No, I think we've covered all the points I wanted to get with Kurt. once again, thank you very much for coming on to the podcast.
No worries,
What's your final preparations going to be going into this Barcelona event?
Yeah, it's just last couple of weeks now. Just finish off playing the Gfinity Cup. Just get a bit of more practice in it, and I'm just waiting now for them to give us the teams, and so I can start building my team for Barcelona. Well, start building my team. I can't wait to prepare for it.
And hopefully in a few weeks we will see if you are the best player in the World Cup.
100%. This is going to be such a huge event. It's finally there's so many players. All the best players pretty much are going to be there. There's very few that are going to be missing. So I can't wait.
So, do you think this is really your chance to cement the?
Yeah, I feel like this is my first year. It's like last year I couldn't play at the event, so bar that one. So this year we go from start, and it's a long year. I mean, it's not just Barcelona, man. Even of course the events after that. It's going to be a long year, and I'm really, really excited. I can't wait.
So a big thank you, Kurt, for coming on the podcast. Thank you as always, Colin, for coming on. Obviously, co-host Richard Buckley next to me. Thanks ever so much for listening, whether you listen on YouTube, over on iTunes. Thanks to all our listeners that come every week. If you are new, make sure you do drop a like, make sure you do subscribe. Feel free to follow us on Twitter at FUT Champs Pod. And until next time, we shall catch you later. Enjoy your weekend. Hopefully your weekend goes well. And we'll catch you next week with a new guest, and we're bringing you a brand new podcast. Until next time, we'll catch you later. Bye bye.
If you like what you're hearing, why not subscribe? Just go to @FUT Champions Pod on Twitter, drop a follow, and then you'll find all your subscription options in the pinned tweet. Oh, and also, while I've got you, why not check out this podcast, More Casual Older Brother, the FUT Weekly podcast, for in-depth reviews, Team of the Week rundown, content chat, and general FUT discussion.